Welcome to the Halley Elise Show, featuring your host, empowerment psychic Halley Elise. She is an author, psychic, and media personality, and has been listed as one of the top 100 psychics in America. Empowerment psychic Halley Elise shares the spiritual, metaphysical, holistic, and magical powers of the universe. Follow Halley on her website at HalleyElise.com, and all her shows can be seen via live stream video. Now, here's your host, empowerment psychic Halley Elise.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. As always, when I have a guest, I am excited and delighted. And tonight's guest is a lovely friend of mine that I've known for years, and we rarely have a chance to see each other, so I had to stick him on air. But I think you're really going to enjoy this evening. Before we dive in, I do want to say thank you to all of you that have been watching and listening on WNN and on AMP2. This evening is kind of my last night here. As of next week, I'm moving to FM. So if you want information on that, go ahead and go to the website, which is HalleyElise.com, and that's HalleyElise.com. And you'll be able to see everything then. And of course, the archives from this show will be there. So without further ado, my guest this evening is an innovator. He is a speaker. He, whether he'd agree or not, is a visionary, always coming up with ideas, definitely not somebody who just sees things black and white. He sees the black and the white and everything in between. I think that's why I like him, because there's that full spectrum of the world. So his background is somewhat multi-diverse, and yet his focus now is kind of on energy, which this is why he's here tonight. His company is Sound Health. He is the CEO and, if you will, the creator of what's to come. So without further ado, Michael. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for such a great introduction. I'm writing down the URL so that I'll be able to track you, because we kind of lose touch with each other every once in a while.
It's crazy. So, it's funny because your background isn't necessarily in this field that you're working with. You had engineering, you owned a advertising company, you created that wonderful app. I think that was your inspiration. Michael created this wonderful app that has to do with health, where you're walking on the treadmill and it takes you to faraway places. Very cool stuff. And I remember when he was doing it with a green background and the whole bit. It was kind of fun. And then you moved.
Well, I tend to work on things that I personally need. So I'm a regular person, and it's interesting, things that I find that are missing in my life seem to fit holes in a lot of other people's lives. And that seems to work for me quite well. Today, Sound Health is an interesting platform, if you will, where I get to help lots and lots of people through bringing medical innovation to the marketplace. And what's neat about what I do is, while I'm not from this business, I'm really a problem solver.
Exactly.
So as I look at this puzzle that was foreign to me, I try to fit in all of the agendas of all the people that you need to bring to the table to make it work. So I look at problems from the other side of the table. And if I can find reasons why everyone will participate transparently, that seems to work very well in everyone's favor.
And you seem to do that very easily. I mean, all kidding aside, when you look at something, you tend to go, oh, just move that over. And somebody else has been staring at it for a month. You have that knack, which makes things a lot easier. And that's why I say you're very much a visionary, because you're not, if you'll, confined to what the average or the norm might be. You have no problems with saying, let's expand that idea. Or, well, if we stick in, a fork to this thing over here, what's going to happen? Like, you look for that reaction. And the neat thing about Sound Health, too, is you're working with frequencies. And I'm constantly talking to everybody about energy and frequency and how that works. And what's kind of neat is you're not saying that a frequency by itself creates sound health, but you're saying that the right combinations of frequencies working and targeted in a specific way make a difference. Can you share a bit about that?
I can.
Okay.
Everything that is alive vibrates, and all at different types of frequencies.
Yes.
And it's interesting because if you open up your mind to tune in some of these frequencies, if you will, opportunities are staring right at you. And often we don't even recognize that these opportunities are there.
Agreed.
I think that it's being able to take a step back and looking at just how is the world functioning? And if you open up your eyes and open up your ears, you'll soon see that people are trying to be connected, and it comes quite easy once you realize that these opportunities are there. I think a rule that I practice is I don't judge the opportunities. I say this all the time. None of us at the table are qualified to judge this opportunity. Let's see if it works. And another thing that I believe in is that nothing's impossible, which goes kind of against the grain from my classical training.
Well, I was going to say from the structure that you experienced while you were trained, it says if you fit this part into this part, it works. And if you don't follow that rule, you're out.
But before I had training there, I think the secret is I was a musician and still am and always will be. And when I speak to young kids, I speak to the fact that music is a really neat exercise because your right hand is doing something different than your left hand, and your brain is doing something different. And that method of thinking in different categories at the same time,
it brings the brain together.
Or divides it so that rules aren't maybe as tall as they would otherwise.
See, that's interesting because you say that it could divide it. I think it's more a matter of compartmentalizing when necessary, but when not necessary, you have the ability to grasp both. And I'll give an example. If you are problem solving, you are not typically using the left hemisphere of your brain, which is that analytical part. You may initially look at it from that perspective, but to come up with vast ideas, you have to actually tap into that right hemisphere. So if you're using a musical instrument, if you're constantly listening to music, you literally are drawing from both places because the functionality has to be from the linear part, yet the ability to become a part of the music, that comes from that abstract.
I would agree. And I think that linear is sometimes the problem in thinking. And if people are thinking down a straight line, they oftentimes miss on what's going on the side.
Right.
Interesting observation. When I'm driving my car and someone's in the car with me, I'll say, "Ooh, did you see the iguana?" And they'll say, "No, where did you see that?" I think that it's the perception of there are a lot of things going around at the same time, and tuning all that in gives you the opportunity to look at situations from other viewpoints, which you may not have known were there.
Right.
That is the trick in solving problems.
But wouldn't you agree that, and I'm going to say the average person, so don't anybody get upset with me here. I'm just going to say it's based on kind of the education process. We go to school and there is a memorization process. You know, if you need to know this, then you have to memorize that. If you think outside of the box, and it's funny, I'll give a grand analogy here. I think I was in first grade and the teacher said, color a picture. And in the picture, there was land and there were trees and there was a sky. And I colored a violet sky. And I colored the grass with some browns and yellows and bits of greens. And I actually remember this. And I remember bringing it in to the teacher, and she said, that's wrong. And she ripped it up, said, that's not acceptable. That's not the color of the sky. That's not the color of the grass, of the land. And what's really funny is if you look at all the gorgeous pictures that we're seeing today of places around the world, the sky can be any color. The land can be any color. I mean, but there's that, you have to see it here, you have to have blinders on it. So how can you possibly solve anything if you're in this space all the time?
Sure. That's a good point. I think oftentimes people also forget that people, at the end of the day, we're all the same. We all feel the same things. We all experience the same things. We're all going through life on a similar journey. We all have the same pains. I think if you bring that approach to looking at things, situations and opportunities, it gives you the ability to discover ways of putting these parts together. Agreed. So if we go back to my current business today,
yes,
it really is focused on finding the best cures and treatments and medical procedures for people.
Right.
And what I especially love about what I do is these opportunities are coming to me from all over the world.
That's exciting.
And
really is.
One of the reasons why I believe that they continue to come is because A, I don't judge.
Right.
And B, I treat the craziest of people the way they want to be treated because we're all crazy. When they meet me, I say, look, I'm just like you. I have a crazy idea, I have a crazy invention.
True.
And in the beginning, people said this won't work or this can't work or sound waves can't make changes in physical physiology of the human
Have they
body.
ever seen an opera singer in a glass?
Of course. So
sound is effective.
It's the ability to be like them and to respect their views and then just amplify what the opportunities are.
It's funny that you say that as far as everybody's the same. I was talking with a student the other day, and he was saying he grew up in a way where he always treated everybody the same in the sense of yes ma'am, yes sir, sir, yeah, and it doesn't matter their age, and it didn't matter if it was the garbage man or if it was his boss. And he noticed just recently that he said yes sir to his boss, and then he said yes sir to a maintenance man within the same day, and he thought, isn't that interesting? There literally was no judgment, and we were discussing it, and he was saying that it's really that simple. If you treat everybody the same, you treat everybody with respect, you treat everybody with a level of kindness, a level of understanding, or take all that away and just see them as they are going to experience life the same way you do. They're going to have hardships, they're going to have joys. Why would you want to make them different?
Right.
And with that in mind, then you can accomplish all sorts of things, because then everybody is a friend. And the universe, being what it is, it's benevolent. If you are being kind to people, if you're not judgmental, then you're putting out a frequency. You're putting out that vibratory movement that says, hey, I'm open. Come on in. Let me talk to you. Makes sense. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and I'll stop talking and let Michael talk for a little bit. Tune back in a moment to the Halley Elise Show.
Wow, this looks really great. Oh gosh, I've got to stop talking to myself. The Psychic Gallery on the first Monday of every month, 7:30 p.m. here in Boca Raton. De-stress, connect with intuitive abilities, laugh, learn about psychic phenomena, and get psychic messages? Psychic messages? Woo! Where's the price? Here it is. Only $25 at the door? Awesome! How do I sign up? Oh, easy. Go to HalleyElise.com. Nice. $5 off online? Oh, I've got to call the girls and tell them about the Psychic Gallery on the first Monday of the month. Great time! 7:30 p.m. Perfect. Have to remember HalleyElise.com for the Psychic Gallery.
You're listening to Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise, and she invites you to visit her website for more information about all that she does at HalleyElise.com. Now, back to your host, Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise.
So nobody seems to know what that song is except for me. I tell you what, I'm going to put a little something out there for you folks, and that is I'm going to do a private party at the new station. And so if you email me and you can tell me what the name of that opening and closing song is that I've been using for the past few years here, then I'll put your name in the hat for the private party. And that's going to include some champagne and some goodies, and you get to hang out at a radio station. So think about what the name is and email me, okay? All right, so my lovely guest, Michael Miller, is still here. If you're just tuning in, he is the CEO of Sound Health and a visionary and many other wonderful things. And just before break, we were talking about frequencies and how people are affected by vibration and sound, but also about how it's important not to be judging of anyone because everybody's the same. You know, everybody puts their pants on the same way. Everybody has the same internal organs. So we're kind of here for more than just to make money. And it's really interesting because if you're not making money, where does your heart go? Where does your head go? It goes to that place of, I need to do this. And a lot of times you forget to put people first. But all the mentors I've studied with over the years, and probably the greatest one would be my Nana, my grandmother. And she always said, people first, money second. And I think you believe the same, yes?
I do believe that. And it's funny that you said your grandmother was your influence because in my life, it was my grandfather. My grandfather had many, many, many friends. And he used to say, help people any way you can. And when you're growing up and you're young, you just don't understand that.
Right.
But as you get older, you start to mellow and you start to look at the world and some maybe changes in your life happen. And for the last, second half of my life, I have answered every phone call as how can I help you? And I there is so much pleasure and joy when you help someone.
Absolutely.
It's a check you cash here, and people don't understand that if they're in the toy collecting phase of their life, right? So we go through different phases.
Right.
For me, that was over a while ago.
A little earlier.
Right. So at this point, it really was about how do I help people genuinely and do the very best that I can and not ask for anything back.
Right.
I've been doing that for at least 10 years. You know, we know each other that long.
Right.
And today I have this incredibly thriving business, and people say, well, what's the secret? And I say, well, you know what? You just pay it forward. And I don't mean pay it forward in a commercial way. You pay it forward where you're not even keeping track of it. It's not about keeping track, because
No.
I could never do the accounting backwards. I'm sure that I am being well more than compensated for what I do for people. Although what I do for people, they're always thankful.
Right.
One of the best compliments you could get is when you walk in the mall, people come up to you and hug you and say, "Oh my God, Michael, thank you for helping me." And you know, some of my proudest moments are when I'm with my children and my kids look at me and say, "You know, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be like you."
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
That's what it's all about. So if you genuinely try to help people, the payoff, you can't imagine it. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier when I said there's a wavelength. It's almost like serendipity. And you help enough people, and then they talk about how you help them, and then more opportunity comes in. And as long as you're transparently always doing the right thing.
I just had somebody who asked about law of attraction and how that works, and you know what are some tips I could give them. And so I said, one of the things you can do is start saying, I help everybody and everybody helps me. I said, but you don't think about what's the help coming back. You are just available to be helpful. You know, if you see somebody needing help, you go do it. If somebody shows up, you just ask. They can say no thank you, but just be available. That's that energy. That's that frequency being put out, and there's that ebb and flow to life.
Well, it's interesting because just earlier today, I had a person in my office who brought their business associate, and I gave them some great ideas of how that we can move this thing forward. And I said, look, you're just not ready for me to help you, but these are the things that you should do. And her associate said, well, how do you get paid? And I said, I'm really not looking to get paid. And he goes,
people don't understand
that doesn't make any sense. No. There's something you're not telling us. I said, well, here's what I'm telling you. I will help you any way I can. You have my phone number. You have my cell phone number. Call me anytime. And trust me, when you leave, something will come in the other door that I wasn't looking for. And he looked at me and he didn't really get it. The woman got it. It's
okay. If he does,
if you're not tuned into that station, you're not going to get it.
But it's hard to be tuned into that station if your belief system, and a belief is nothing more than a thought that you think over and over again.
Sure.
Okay. If you've been thinking for the last 20 years, everybody's against me, I can't get a break no matter what I do.
Right, it manifests and becomes reality.
Exact. You know, there is... I'm going to create this without even the knowledge of that you're creating it.
Right.
So for those who are saying, well, things are too tough and I can't get there, let me just make a little suggestion. Take 1 minute out of your day, 1 minute, and say, what can I do for somebody? It can be anybody. It could be just opening a door for somebody at the grocery store. I mean, it can be that simple. But do it with a conscious intent of just being helpful. That's it. Watch how your life starts to change. And that's with just 1 minute, let's say every day. We have that amazing ability to create. We have an amazing ability to magnify our own energy. I want to get back to sound health here for a moment. I love the play on words. I love that double entendre because you're literally using sound to create health. And then the idea of sound health, meaning we're going to have good health, all kind of wrapped up together.
And it's a sound plan.
Exactly. And anything that is sound
should be good.
Should be good, yes. I mean, at least that's the assumption, right?
Right. And we want it to be
thinking,
sound and solid. We wanted the plans to be solid. And initially, our work that was ours and the things that we were studying were frequency-based.
Right.
Some of the cool things that I can tell you about is we're using sound waves to increase blood flow to reduce inflammation in the prostate. Without having to use any invasive methods.
Right.
So it is a comfortable method
You can sit on your little whoopee cushion and listen to sounds.
Well, you're not really listening to them here. And, what's interesting is that the body is an excellent conductor of sound waves as well. So there are a lot of things that I would love to talk about, but I can't due to their secret.
I'm going to pull them out of you at some point.
That'd be difficult. But they do use sound. There was a Dr. Royal Rife, if you've ever heard of that name. Royal Rife had done a lot of work in identifying specific frequencies at the cellular level. And he was treating all kinds of illnesses, from diabetes to cancers.
I was going to say, I think I remember diabetes and cancer.
So there was a lot of interesting things happening in his work that I am now seeing from around the world other people are doing. And it's just maybe not mainstream here in the U.S. yet. But I think that people are recognizing these forces and
people, don't you see, at least I've acknowledged and I've shared with other people, at least the last, I'd say 20 years, vast change in the idea that something greater than ourself exists, and beyond, religion, beyond going to, pray, but the idea that maybe there are other influences. Maybe we can tap into those influences. And it's not just that we live in a concrete world, but there is something greater. Because nowadays, people actually go, oh, yoga, yeah, I've got to do it. It's really good for my mind and body. Where if you went back 30 years ago, oh, you do that yogi stuff? There's a different perception of things now. People are more open, and it's not that they don't want to use Western medicine. I think they're finding that it is literally a practice. When we say medical practice, we don't have all the answers. We continue to seek, we continue to look, and I'll be the first one to say that if I'm in a car wreck, I want to be taken to the hospital. I don't want a shaman to go like this over me. I want to know what bones are broken. I want to know what's going on. Then I might go to the shaman.
Sure.
But there's a way to integrate, and I've just noticed such a huge difference in the last 2 decades.
Well, I can promise you that from my viewpoint, which is a global one, that there is a blend of organic and Eastern and Western ways and ancient ways, and a blend of energies. And I am fortunate enough to see things that every day I live on the corner of that's impossible, and why didn't I think of that?
I love that.
And
I do love that.
It's very inspiring. So I'm very lucky. You were very influential to me early on. When I first met you, I said, oh my God, I got to be near that lady. She has so much energy. And
it's funny.
It's contagious. And that's another thing. Good energy is contagious.
It is,
but
and
so
it's
is bad
perpetual.
energy.
Yes.
And so you have to make a conscious decision of where you want to sit in the world.
I want to identify something, though, when you're talking about this. There really isn't good or bad. It is how you perceive it or how you interact to it. Meaning, energy of itself is transmutable, as you know. It never dies. It just continues to move. It continues to change. So if you attract enough of one particular type of energy that makes you uncomfortable, that's when we construe it as bad. Whereas if there is an energy that makes you happy, you construe it as good.
Well, maybe we could talk on another show of harnessing energies and good energies and figuring out a way how to work them.
Absolutely. I mean, and
I think you probably have figured out how to tap that. I've never not seen a smile on your face.
Thanks. It's really funny. People say to me all the time, why are you always smiling? Like, why shouldn't I be? And I don't do it where I'm thinking about it. I just kind of do it.
It's contagious.
But it's a good thing. Why walk around sad all the time? How does that accomplish anything?
I agree.
Okay, so if somebody wants to reach you and they want to know more about sound health, should they go to your website?
The easiest
should they
way
call
is
you? What should they do?
Please, the best way would be to go to sound-health.org.
Okay.
And
for those watching, it is on the screen. If you're listening, we'll repeat that again. It's sound-health.org.
And if you are a medical innovator and you have a product, a treatment, or a method of helping people to heal or get better, I'm the person you want to speak to.
Awesome. So I have a funny question to ask. Please. Since you have become so aware of sound and how that works and frequencies, do you turn off the radio now and go, when you're driving?
I've always turned off the radio and sing along with the music in my head.
In your head, okay.
Music and look, music prepares you. I listen to it all the time before I'm going into a meeting. I was listening to it before I came in here.
Just perfect.
It makes you work.
Thank you so much for being on, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following me here at WNN and on amp2.tv. You can see the archives at HalleyElise.com, and you can always call Freddie, the producer here at AMP2, and pick his brain if you need more information. I thank you, and I look forward to connecting with you on FM. As I said, check the website. You'll get some information there. Good night.
Be enchanted and delighted. Connect each week here on WNN for the Halley Elise Show. Also on Facebook and at HalleyElise.com. Thanks for tuning in.